Hello students, hope all are fine and safe. Children, welcome back to the class after your midterm exams. So today let us see what we need to discuss in our class. Today we will discuss the 5th chapter from your main text, that is quality. Let us see what are the points to be discussed in this session. First of all, I will tell you about the author, that is the author description. Next, introduction of the chapter. Then I will tell you the characters of the chapter and explanation of the chapter. We will discuss the textual exercise, and very important is I will discuss about the pattern of writing a mail, that is email writing. So children, as you can see here in the picture, John Galsworthy is the author of this chapter, that is quality. John Galsworthy, educated at Harrow and studied law at New College, Oxford. He travelled widely, and at the age of 28 he began to write, at first for his own amusement. His first stories were published under the pseudonym John St. John and later were withdrawn. He considered The Island Phrases his first important work in 1904. As a novelist, Galsworthy is chiefly known for his Roman writing, that is the Forsyte Saga. The first novel of this vast work appeared in 1906. The Man of Property was a harsh criticism of the upper middle class, Galsworthy's own background. Galsworthy did not immediately continue. 15 years and with them the First World War intervened until he resumed work on the history of the Forsytes in the Chancery and to let in 1921. Meanwhile, he had written a considerable number of novels, short stories and plays. You might have read few books, or you can also find out these books written by John Galsworthy, that is The White Monkey in 1924, and one of his famous writings, that is The Silver Spoon, The Swan Song and its two interludes, A Silent Wooing and Passerby. So all these are the books written by John Galsworthy. Galsworthy was a dramatist of considerable technical skill. His plays often took up specific social grievances, such as the double standard of justice as applied to the upper and lower class in his book The Silver Box. So children, this was about John Galsworthy. You can also see here a few points which I have written about John Galsworthy, that is when he was born and what were his books. So these, and a very important one which you can see here in the last, that is he won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1932. Let us move on to the introduction of the chapter. This chapter, Quality, is written by John Galsworthy in 1912. It is about the German shoemakers, that is Gessler brothers. The story starts with the description of the boot shop. On top was the nameplate Gessler brothers and few shoes displayed on the window. They make shoes on order, that is they will take the orders first and then they used to give the orders to the people, that is give their shoes, that is their boots. The narrator then narrates one of his meetings with Mr. Gessler, and he says it has not been possible to him for him to go to this shop much because the shoes they made lasted very long and it was the best. So this chapter is explaining about the shoemakers. As I told, it is about the German shoemakers. Here in the text also you can find few sentences like it is given in the German accent. As you are reading, you may feel that this sentence is completely different, but nothing, it is the German accent. Children, what is quality? So here if you check into the dictionary, the exact meaning of quality is the degree to which an object or entity that is satisfies a specific set of attributes or requirements. The quality of something can be determined by comparing a set of inherent characteristics with a set of requirements. So, here in this chapter we are talking about the best quality. So, what was the quality of these shoemakers, what kind of boots they made and how they satisfied the customers and what they did in their life. This chapter John Galsworthy is discussing with the reader about these things. Let us see the characters of this chapter. As you can see here, Mr. Gessler, Mr. Gessler's brother, only these both used to make the boots, and as I told you, the writer, that is the author, John Galsworthy. Let us understand the chapter now. That is, the author had known the shoemaker for many years because he used to make the boots for his father. Mr. Gessler was the shoemaker who lived with his elder brother in their shop in London. The shop didn't have any signs apart from the name of the Gessler brothers, as you can see here in the third picture. He used to make boots only on orders. This also I told you before. Once the author questioned Mr. Gessler if it wasn't awful to make those shoes perfectly fitting into the feet they were meant for. The man answered with a heavy German accent that it is an art. So, here the shoemaker tells the author that making the shoe is an art. Isn't it, children? What is an art? It is not only painting or something. Whatever we do, if we are doing that particular work perfectly, that is an art itself. So, here the shoemaker replied to the author that it was an art, that is making a shoe is an art. Mr. Gessler will be engrossed. He used to be engrossed in his work, in his boot making art most of the time, and he wouldn't talk much with his customers. He strongly admired every piece of materials he used to work with. The boots made by Gessler brothers were of supreme quality and lasted very long, but in one occasion the author had a different experience. He complained about it to Mr. Gessler. To this, the old man promised that he will repair the shoe, and if he couldn't, he will return the money to the author. So, in one incident, the shoemaker tells the author that if he is not having the shoes in a proper condition, his money will be returned back to him. Now, let us see what is the grief and the hard times of these shoemakers. On one occasion, while placing an order for a shoe, the author was a bit absent-minded. He was wearing a pair of boots bought in an emergency from a large shop. Mr. Gessler looked carefully and pressed at a point where the left boot was not comfortable for the author. With a sad face, he commented that it hurts the customers, but still the big firms don't have any self-respect. They lure the customers, that is attract the customers with their advertisements and not with their work. Because of this, Mr. Gessler was losing on business. The author has heard such things for the first time from Mr. Gessler. He felt very bad. So, when the author felt very bad, what did he do? He ordered many pairs of boots instantly. He did not need them, but that he saw that Mr. Gessler was really tensed and what were his thoughts about business. The author gave him order for many pairs of boots. Children, here in the first image you can see what are the other words for luring. Here I have showed you different words which you can use in different lines or stanzas. After several months, he went to their shop again. So, after few days, the author went back to Mr. Gessler's shop. But this time, he mistook Mr. Gessler for his elder brother. After a while, he realized his mistake and learnt that the elder brother had passed away. So, I told you there were two Gessler brothers. So, one had passed away. Then again, he ordered many pairs of shoes and soon after that, he left for abroad. So, the author left for abroad after few days. This time Mr. Gessler looked more aged this time, and only a year had passed, but from his face it appeared as though he had covered a journey of decades. So what happened in the conclusion? Let us check. The artist, has come to an end. So both the brothers die. But what is the bitter truth? Let us know. Mr. Gessler failed to recognize the author. The author, as usual, placed his orders, and this time the boots were better than ever. The author one evening went personally to thank Mr. Gessler for such a splendid work, but the nameplate was missing from the shop, and he found an Englishman inside the shop. So this time he couldn't find the Gessler brothers. Instead he saw an Englishman, a salesman there. The man informed him that Mr. Gessler had passed away, and they have taken up the shop. The man further added that Mr. Gessler died of starvation. The man used to make all the boots himself. He never allowed anyone else to touch them. Used the finest quality leather and worked hard day and night to complete the orders in time. He made the best boots in London with the finest leather, yet he lost it to the competition. Everything that he earned went on paying rent for the shop and on buying leathers. He skipped his meals, working for hours for each pair of boots. So children, this was the conclusion of the story. So we have come to know that both the Gessler brothers died, but the quality of the work they did was the best, but they were unable to face the competitive world. Children, now let us check on the highlights of the chapter. This story is about a struggling shoemaker and his dedication to work. The author knows him that someone who thinks and works with passion of an artist to the limit that the shoes he makes are masterpieces in themselves. But in the end, the story tells us about the sad loss of art and quality in today's world of mass-produced big brands and consumerism. So here the story highlights the virtues of hard work, honesty, resolution, compassion, humility and commitment. The theme of loss and death is also woven into the story with both Mr. Gessler and his brother as they die in the story. However, the idea of honesty, that is honest work, and dedication to the quality and the work is celebrated both in the times of scarcity and plenty. So here the chapter is conclusion is also given, and the story highlights also is given here in this slide. So children, as you can see here in the slide, email writing. What is email writing? It stands for electronic mail, and it is the easiest and cheapest way of communication. It is used in formal, semi-formal as well as an informal way of expression or writing. Now because of this pandemic, you know that we all are using this email writing, and you have also sent most of your answers through your mails itself. But what I felt there is the format which you have sent is not correct. Most of you have not filled in the columns. As you can see here, two images are there. In the first from, that is the sender's email ID, you have to put the sender's email ID. Most of you have, instead of this sender's email ID, you have written your parent's email ID. And then next you want to send the mail. For example, you want to send the mail to me. So you have to put my mail ID there. Some children have put social mail ID instead of English mail ID. And then if you want to send it to somebody else, that is CC, that is called as carbon copy, and BCC is blind carbon copy. If you don't want these people or these people whom you have sent, you don't want them to know about this, then you have to send it in BCC, that is called as blind carbon copy. And then the subject is very important, children. I have found that many children have not written the subject at all. Subject column is blank in your mail what you have sent. You should send like midterm examination papers, and your name also is very important, children. We have to know who has sent these papers or which classwork you are sending. Those things you can mention in short, in brief in the subject. And then what is the salutation here? you have to write respected ma'am or dear ma'am, as you can see here in the image. And then the main body of what you are sending, you have to send, dear ma'am, kindly find the attachment of the notes of chapter 4, 5 and 6. So and so you need to send it. And then in the last you have to, that is closing, the closing of the mail, you have to send regards. For example, if your name is Ramesh, regards Ramesh 8th B or 7th B. You have to mention these details in the closing of your mail. These things are very important, children, as you can see that in that you have to send the other details of your contact is not required, but you have to send your name, your class and section. Those things are essential for writing a mail. You can see here the date is also very important. You need to all those things will come in the mail, but you must also mention. So the correct format of sending the mail should be there. So children, here once again I am briefing you about the email writing. Subject line must be specific and concise. So whatever you are writing in the subject, that should be specific. You should write in the subject, don't send the blank mail there. And the address of the recipient by name, if possible, that also you can write. As otherwise you can send respected ma'am or dear ma'am. This section that is the body is very important. This section explains the main message of your mail, and in the last, as I told, regards and your name and class section, that you have to mention. So as I told you, there are 5 important parts of the email. Just now I have explained to you that one. Children, now the textual grammar, as you can see in your textbook, there are lot of exercises, especially on phrases, which I have already explained to you, like what are phrases, what are types of phrases, all those things I have explained to you. If you have any doubts, now we will discuss in our online class. But 1 or 2 exercise which I am going to tell you, which is there in your textbook, that is one is based on the following points, write a story. They have given some points there and some story you need to frame. You can frame this story and you can write in your classwork. That is the story writing format, you know very well how to do it. So that you can do it either in your textbook itself, or you can write and send it to my mail when you are sending your classwork. Well, let us further discuss in the online class. Thank you, children.